Let's dive into maybe an altcoin season starting to correct here. XRP ETFs launching, and of course, Trump is announcing a stimulus check. All of that, we'll break it down for you. It's going to be a good one. Before we get started, I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Coinbase. A great place for you guys to get into crypto, maybe for the first time. And by the way, we have a lot of brand new viewers that are coming onto the channel. I know you guys are thinking about crypto, maybe getting into digital assets. Coinbase is the spot for you. All you have to do is, of course, use our link. You're going to get up to $200 to get involved there, and you can earn up to $2,000 when you buy your first $50 in crypto. So check it out. Use our link. It does help the channel. I'm going to open up with Stephen McClurg, who's coming in from Canary Capital. You guys have seen Canary over the years and months that we've talked to Stephen. How are you?
Fantastic, Paul. How are you doing?
So it's a big week for you, by the way. You kind of have something going on.
Oh, it's a huge week for us. We're very excited about the possibilities that we're seeing on Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not talking in code here. The reality is this: Bitwise, Franklin Templeton, 21 shares, Canary, and CoinShares all getting the XRP ETFs now listed on the DTC platform. That usually means that we have something brewing on an ETF actually going live. And of course, Canary Capital being one of them that will go. First of all, let's talk about XRPC. Tell me a little bit of why this is better than some of the others that are going to launch. Sell it to me. Sell it to me, Steve.
Oh, man. I'm involved, of course. No. Look, we've been a big fan of XRP for a long time. Even during the time when Ripple was going through all of its, I would call it persecution.
Yeah.
They went through a persecution. They took one for the team. And when I say the team, everybody that's involved in crypto, a lot of the things that they did and they fought for ended up playing out to be, where we are today.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for them, fighting back against that persecution. So we've been right there alongside them, with them, supporting them. They've supported us. I'm a big fan of Brad Garlinghouse. I'm a big fan of that team, and we can't wait to really get this thing out there and to let the world have a XRP ETF in the U.S.
So you feel that right now, that because I think a lot of companies that have been with Ripple since the beginning, or at least during a lot of their trials, are being rewarded. I'll mention a handful out there. Uphold, of course, is in crazy growth scale. Possibly Canary could be leading the charge in terms of an XRP ETF, and a handful of other companies that have kind of recognized Ripple as being one of the stalwarts of the industry. You think that is going to be one of the convincing factors of investors saying, if I'm going to buy an ETF, it's going to be over here at Canary?
Yeah, look, the reality is they're all good. A lot of the issuers that are doing this, ETFs are a bit of a commodity. I'll just be honest.
Sure.
It's not going to make a huge difference going from one or another. I think the big deciding factor for us is because we have been in the crypto space for a very long time. Our security is top notch, and that's actually probably one of the few deciding factors on this, right? Because we actually are responsible for cybersecurity and us moving coin from one exchange to another, or selling it and buying it into the market. So security is probably the biggest factor, which we're really up to speed on. That's probably it. Most of our team is crypto native. We understand the nuances. We understand flaws of the past, mistakes of the past. If you go back over the last dozen or so years, there's a lot of issues that you have to overcome, and
Yeah.
we've seen it and we've avoided it. For instance, FTX, when it went down, we didn't have a dime in FTX. So, we're pretty good at evaluating software and exchanges and people that we work with, and we feel like that we've done the best that we can here.
Well, I think security is and could be one of the big differentiators out there. Rates will be another one, I think, to a certain extent, because there will be competitive elements around that. When you look at the flow that we've seen with Solana, the BSOL, Bitwise did a great job getting that one out on the ground, and absolutely crazy numbers. One of the best performing ETFs that we've seen so far, especially in digital assets. How do you think these XRP ETFs will perform against that?
Yeah, I actually think that XRP will probably double what Solana did in its
Wow.
first week and even today, as far as volume and as far as total AUM. If you just even look at the market caps of the two tokens, XRP is about 50% higher than Solana.
Yeah.
But the difference is, and we experienced this with HBAR last week or 2 weeks ago now, the HBAR ETF experienced $70 million in inflows just in the first 3 days. And it's because it's really well known among institutional circles
Exactly.
and enterprise investors.
Yeah.
So even though it's not a big retail product, it doesn't have a ton of volume, it's got the right kind of interest. And that's how XRP is. Solana is probably a little bit more of a retail token. XRP is much more of a financial services, enterprise, institutional token. And when you put that into an ETF, even though it's only 50% more market cap, it'll probably be 100% or 200% more inflows because of the institutional audience.
Well, listen, the retail, if you want to call it retail, is looking forward on this right now. That's the XRP chart, guys, looking at the 4-hour, with the likelihood of being the top performer on the day, which is up like 7% right now, comparison to, say, just Bitcoin, up about 1%. Even if you compare it to Solana, which just had their launch last week, currently up about 1.6. So maybe the market is starting to gravitate toward XRP because of these ETF launches. Not that necessarily that will move the token, but it will definitely bring more awareness around XRP as a whole. What about when you look at, because I'm looking at some other assets out there that have the potential for maybe going next level. And the one I'm watching right now is Sui. This was a tweet by you. 3 highest convictions, Litecoin, Satoshi Light, we know about that. Then you had Sui in here. Obviously, we've had the Sui team on here coming in from Facebook, Evan and his team in Denye. And then Injective Protocol. What do you think about a Sui ETF? Would that work?
Oh, absolutely. So, and maybe even to back up a little bit, just to point out Litecoin, there has been a massive resurgence in the demand for privacy tokens. And Litecoin just recently integrated a privacy feature via Mimblewimble. So if you look at the charts, you're seeing Monero, Zcash, both jump into the top 20 in the last week. And Litecoin is also benefiting from that resurgence in privacy tokens. Even though it's not fully private, you can make your wallets private, and so that's really starting to come in. So that's a big area right now that I want to be watching. As far as protocols go, Sui, in my opinion, is one of the top ones out there. I think it's already surpassed Ethereum as far as functionality. It's surpassed Solana, in my opinion, as far as functionality goes. And it's just a matter of time before it replaces Solana as the next protocol token coming out. And so look, I've got a lot of respect for that team and what they're building, and they're doing it slowly. They're doing it right. It's not a big VC pump and dump like some of these other ones are. They truly are building first, and it's really amazing. And then you go down the line to Injective. That's sort of like to me, that's the dark horse. It's a much smaller market cap token, but they're doing everything right. Their team is very solid. They're not spending crazy money on marketing. They're really building things. And one of the really cool things that they're building right now is actually some integrations with XRP Ledger. So I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 4-hour chart on Injective. It has come off the floor a little bit back on the 6, so nice little move there. That was a big statement that you're talking about Sui that could possibly take over as one of the major protocols. Solana has a very good market position and has had for quite some time. Beyond the team and what Sui has done in general, is there anything that kind of draws you into the Sui network more importantly than that you would say over Solana? I mean, is it the gaming side of it, or is it something else?
Well, and it actually came out of the gaming side. I don't know if we've talked about this, Paul, but I actually worked at a video game company for part of my
I didn't
career,
know that.
Electronic
Wow.
Arts.
Okay. What? Oh, you were at
Yeah,
EA?
yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
was at EA.
All right.
I was there when we launched the very first mobile game
Oh my
on the
gosh.
iPhone, right after
Man,
the
you're
iPhone
you're
came out.
dating yourself here, Stephen.
I
You're
know,
dating
I'm old.
yourself.
Yeah, I took a little break from financial services and joined a video game company
Good for
building
you.
applications. It was a lot of fun. But so I pay really close attention to things that are built for games because it really is mass adoption. I mean,
Hmm.
that's what people care about. Everybody plays games on their phone
Yeah.
at some
Yeah.
point in the day. But when Sui first came out and was really focused on that, I mean, I remember going back to Facebook games, and it's a lot of the same team. So
Hmm.
even though they haven't put a massive focus on games recently, the technology's there, and they're utilizing that technology for other applications. So I really care about things like speed, security, and uptime, and those are the three areas where they've really beat out both Solana and Ethereum. Now, Solana also has they have a great team as well. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not really, trying to compare there, but it really is. It's a newer protocol that has all the elements to be a really great network.
Well, I think the key is execution, as it is with many of these companies. Partnership execution. We keep thinking that Sui is going to do some pretty crazy things in terms of big announcements, which we've talked about and speculated around Pokemon and many of the other things that could flow into that chain. So we're definitely watching that one closely. I want to move over to more of the macro side of things, because if you look at the altcoin season right now, and you kind of compare in general to what's happening with the potential of a Trump stimulus check. This, of course, was Trump saying every American who isn't a high income earner is going to get $2,000 back in cash. So there was his statement right there, including not including high income people, will be paid to everyone. This could, the last time we had stimulus like this, we saw this go into the crypto markets. Do you think we'll see this going into trad crypto, or do you think they'll go into more of the degen crypto side, meme coins, things like that?
Well, look, if I were to receive a $2,000 stimulus check, it's going straight into DraftKings. That's what I would do
DraftKings?
with it.
There, okay.
And,
There you go.
but
Polly Hawkins. Yeah.
but what that tells you though is and I'm an interesting case, but usually when people get found money like that, it's like, I
Yeah.
mean, are they going to save it? Are they going to buy groceries? No, they're gonna invest it. They're going to gamble with it. They're going to um, uh, take some risk with found money. It always happens, right? So what I think will happen it'll probably more benefit the trad side of crypto
Oh,
because most
okay.
people have access to brokerage accounts that they can trade in as opposed to DeFi or exchanges.
Hmm.
So anything that has an ETF around it, I think, will definitely benefit from these stimulus checks, even more so than more of the pure DeFi side of things.
You wouldn't go with like, hey, I'm going to put 50% in trad and ETFs and maybe 50% in pudgy penguins.
Some people would do that, of course, but look, it's all about access too, right? And most people
Yeah.
just don't have access to the ability to buy pudgy penguins or invest in DeFi. So really, it's going to be through TradFi rails in things that are probably a little bit more risky and volatile, which would be crypto.
Yeah, well, and I think the scenario is the comparison to back then, the last time we saw a stimmy come through, and where
Yep.
we are today. Because I think a lot more people are either on Robinhood, maybe on Coinbase, on traditional exchanges out there. They may
Sure.
not be in the DeFi market, but you can get access to a lot of this stuff out there.
Yep.
But also, you're going to be able to buy some ETFs out there, some high flying ETFs. So I understand. Listen, I
Yeah. Or
understand
bet on the Super Bowl.
that too. That too. Let's talk a little bit more about where we could see the issue with Bitcoin, because this is something that we've talked about here on the show here recently. Cathie Wood came out, basically said, hey, we're reducing our long-term outlook for Bitcoin by a significant amount. It was 300K. And this was the 2030 prediction. When you look at what we're seeing right now, first of all, what were your thoughts on Cathie flip-flopping a little bit on this?
I saw that as a sign of the bottom. So when you have high-profile people adjusting their price targets down because they've been in so much pain, and it wasn't just Cathie, it's several other people as well. You're like, okay, yeah, now we're at the bottom because now you're seeing real capitulation. And sure enough, when a lot of these new price targets came out, whether 2030 or this year, we saw Novogratz come out and kind of backstep to, oh yeah, maybe it's like 120. Okay, yeah, now we're at the bottom. All this capitulation is really that sign. So sure enough, here we go. And I do believe, I'm still holding firm to my 140 target for the year. 2030, who knows what happens?
Yeah.
5 years.
Well, but I think she's, her positioning was really built around stablecoins as being one of the arch nemesis, I guess, overall. And if you look at the growth that we've seen in a fairly significant time, what are your thoughts in general about the market condition? Because I've kind of talked about this 140 being a Bitcoin target for end of year. Who knows what 2026 will hold? Are you pushing into 2026 on the market in terms of the next bull top, or do you feel like this could still happen this quarter?
It's one of those things where you'll know it when you see it. I'm not certain if we hit a top in November or January or February or even December, but I think we will know it when we see it. It does seem that things were delayed a little bit this year versus other years, but again, if you look at every 4-year cycle, the top is in a different month. It's not going to be, an exact science of saying, well, okay, it's going to happen every October. It's going to happen every December. So it is possible that this gets pushed out a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of hard to say now when that's going to be. But we're certainly bullish in the month of November.
Do you think that the Clarity Act slowdown potential could cause us to see another crash if we see Clarity get pushed into 2026? Because right now Polymarket has this thing continuing to decline in terms of probability for 2025. Does that have any factor going into the market?
I don't think it has a massive factor. I do believe that it is a small contributor, but at the same time, we have so much regulatory clarity now under the new SEC, under the Trump administration. You've seen a lot of the lawsuits being dismissed against some of the exchanges, against Ripple, against some other folks. CZ getting pardoned. These are really massive actions that prove out what true clarity is. So and then of course all the altcoin ETFs that are going out right now. It's not a complete free for all. I think some people believe that that's the case, but it's not a complete free for all. The SEC is not reviewing every application that comes in. They are still holding off on some. But I do think the clarity in the market, or the regulatory clarity, not necessarily the Clarity Act, is pretty firm, and anything in addition to that will make it better. But we're already in a great place. I don't think it'll hurt it.
Okay, so government shutdown has been happening. Obviously, we've seen the market kind of take that on the chin. Likelihood, though, is we're going to see a government reopening, possibly this week from the looks of it right now, at least early in the week. So there are some indicators. But at the same time, we could see another issue brewing in December, which would be the Republicans voting on the ACA distributions. Would that be another factor that could diminish the opportunity here for a run-up on Bitcoin towards the end of year? Because that would be in December.
Yeah, I think it could. Look, the economy already has a lot of cracks. So it's the broad economy, not necessarily crypto, that's in danger. I say it's not in danger, but there's risk. And anything that creates further cracks. Even the government being shut down, there's people that haven't been getting paychecks, which means that they're not spending, which hurts consumer confidence, which hurts retail sales, which hurts people getting paid. There's been a lot of layoffs, even at Amazon, ahead of the Christmas season, which is really interesting to watch. So it's going to be, I think anything could certainly slow down the broader economy and broader risk assets continuing to surge. Crypto is a bit behind other risk assets right now, so we're probably going to be in a big catch-up phase in the month of November. But outside of that, I mean, we're watching the economy very closely for further cracks. Employment's important, inflation's important, and even imports and exports are very important.
What do you think comes in on all the data that's been pent up in terms of kind of a big release? Do you think we're going to see a lot of negative impact on this in terms of data flowing into the Fed right now?
I don't think it'll be a lot of necessarily negative impact. What I think we're going to see the most of is jobs data that forces the Fed to cut rates further in December. And look, if I was running the Fed, I would cut 50 basis points in December. And what people have to keep in mind, a lot of people out there just think that, that controls all rates. But right now we're still in an inverted rate curve, which means that you're getting rewarded for taking lower duration risk than higher duration risk because of the way the curve is. And the Fed really needs to bring the lower end of the curve back to a level to where people are getting rewarded for risk in a normal way. Right now, the Fed's fund rate is just artificially holding the short end of the curve up. But if they were to bring rates lower by 50 basis points, we'd have closer to a normal curve, and you might even see some of the longer end of the curve going up in rate, which actually I think needs to happen.
So, what is your theory for December? Pause, or do you think we get a cut?
Yeah, my theory for December is probably just another 25 basis point cut, and which won't be great. But and the other thing that the Fed did too was they've stated that they're going to pause unwinding the balance sheet starting on December 1. I actually think that's a bad policy. I'd rather see 2 cuts in December and continuing on unwinding the longer dated assets.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man, we got a lot happening here right now over the next few weeks. This is going to be a very busy market going into the holidays. And of course, December could be lining up for some interesting things, even if we are looming into another government shutdown in January if this ACC thing doesn't come through. So lots happening. Stephen, we'll definitely have you back on to chat about that. And I definitely want to see how the XRP ETFs perform. And we might bring you back on to do a victory lap here in a few weeks.
I'd love that. Hopefully it's a victory lap.
Let's hope for that. All right, Stephen, it's great having you. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks, Paul.
You bet. All right, you guys know what to do. Make sure and jump into the Diamond Circle. It's a great place to get additional content from me. And if you're not following me on X, you can do that. It's just @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.